Joining us now to discuss, George Hill is here, retired supervisory intelligence analyst and an FBI whistleblower. George, good to have you on the show, sir.
Hey, Vince, how are you? I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I did. I hope you did as well, sir. What do you make of the nomination of Kash Patel to run the FBI?
Yeah, so there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth from some people, and I'm sure some hyperventilating from others, and others are, blowing trumpets and banging drums, thinking that this is the end of the FBI. I kind of come down in the middle here. I mean, this is going to take a while. He's absolutely the right guy for the job, and he's eminently qualified to hold it, and he is the change agent necessary to bring the FBI back into some sort of constitutional framework.
So the way that the left and people like Andy McCabe, I include them in that broad label, the way they're reacting is they're making these claims that, oh, now Trump is going to politicize the FBI, which seems to me to be a perfect inversion of the truth. The reason I like Kash Patel headed to run that agency is because the FBI has been politicized and it needs to be depoliticized. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Rich, Andy McCabe saying that Kash Patel is going to politicize the FBI. I mean, I've been laughing about that one ever since he had that clip, come out on CNN. But, Kash, from his book Government Gangsters to his work exposing the Russia hoax, obviously I'm not a personal friend of his, but I'm quite familiar with his work
Yeah.
and his thoughts on things. And he's probably one of the more apolitical people that Trump is bringing into the administration. He's, my observation is he's firmly committed to the rule of law and trying to bring back some sort of credibility to a now discredited entity.
In fact, in President Trump's statement, he doesn't really say anything about going after political enemies or vengeance or anything like that. He says of Kash Patel, quote, he played a pivotal role in uncovering the Russia hoax, standing as an advocate for truth, accountability, and the Constitution. Kash did an incredible job during my first term, where he served as Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, Deputy Director of National Intelligence, and Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Kash has also tried over 60 jury trials. This FBI will end the growing crime epidemic in America, dismantle the migrant criminal gangs, and stop the evil scourge of human and drug trafficking across the border. That's how President Trump describes why he's appointing Kash Patel. I'm sorry, maybe I missed it there, George Hill, but it sounds to me like President Trump's focus is entirely on the crimes that are plaguing our country.
Yeah, I'm missing the vengeance in that tweet or posting in Truth Social from President Trump. I didn't see it, didn't hear it. Have no idea where the left is coming from. I know Tucker Carlson and others have said that they always accuse you of what they're doing.
Yep.
So they heap these kinds of things on President Trump and Kash and others because that's what they have been doing. So, look, if I were running the FBI or in a position of authority there, I would bring in each director and say, okay, give me your elevator pitch. You've got 3 minutes to tell me what your directorate does to make the country safer, who you interact with, other agencies to accomplish that mission, and what does your ideal intelligence analyst and ideal agent look like? What are their qualities? You have 3 minutes, go. And if they can't answer it, they pack their stuff and they're gone. That should always be the focus. What is your director? What is the FBI doing to make the American public safer? And if you can't answer that extemporaneously off the top of your head, then you're just a box checker. You're just an empty suit. You need to go.
As somebody, if should Kash Patel prevail, and Lord willing he will, whoever ends up in that job, what is on their priority list in your view, George? I mean, obviously you talk about focusing on the rule of law and restoring the FBI to enforcing the law without regard for political affiliation. But how do you approach that? I mean, for instance, how many people need to be fired at the upper echelons of the FBI to achieve that mission?
So hopefully, God willing, Kash is the guy. The first thing that's going to happen is a cultural change, and then it flows out from there. It took Bob Mueller 2 years after 9/11 to get the FBI to shift focus to international terrorism. I don't think we have 2 years for Kash to make the kind of changes necessary, Oddly enough, I actually do agree with the current DNI, the head of the CIA, and Director Wray, that all lights are flashing red. We're in a very dangerous environment. So the first thing he's going to have to do is do no harm. So he's going to have to restructure, reorganize, and re-energize the agency so that it's hyper-focused on the threats that we're facing. And I think key to doing that is getting out of this mindset that came about after 9/11, where national security meant that no American should die at the hands of a terrorist. That has to stop. And I think the first giant step in doing that is to get rid of the domestic intelligence program that was a post 9/11 construct, which comprises about 45% of the FBI now is intelligence analysts and people focused towards preemptive crime, and get back to the business of making the country safe for the average citizen instead of trying to take license plates down in a school parking lot
Right.
for people that are speaking out at a meeting.
There are endless stories that we're aware of publicly. We've talked about on this program from what you just discussed, the idea of FBI agents tracking license plates of people attending school board meetings, or FBI field offices declaring that Catholics who practice the traditional Latin Mass should be considered extremists, or any number of people sitting in wheelchairs singing church hymns outside of abortion mills being raided by the FBI. We've seen a lot of that. Also, of course, using foreign intelligence surveillance tools to spy on American citizens. Is that what you're talking about when you talk about a cultural change? Getting rid of that?
Yeah, there has to be that sort of thing, that cultural change. But that was a change that was made by Barack Obama in the waning days of his presidency in January, changing Executive Order 12333, opening the NSA holy of holies to the FBI and allowing them to peruse those classified databases in pursuit of anticipatory infractions, preemptive crime. And that needs to change. That's an easy fix for President Trump, just to amend EO 12333. But a cultural change, though, in that we're not focused on, DEI and American citizens are not our enemy, and focus on back to the core missions that
Yes.
the FBI has always been focused on prior to 9/11. People are all up in arms about the Hunter Biden, pardon, but that's where the big money is, and that's where the offense is to the American public, which is white collar crime. And when it gets roped in with public corruption, that's where it becomes dangerous to the American citizen. That used to be the stock and trade of the FBI, and now it's a laughing stock.
Well, we've heard from FBI whistleblowers like yourself that that you've had agents who've been pulled off of child exploitation cases in favor of January 6th nonsense. And that strikes me as, and I think any decent person, as a real betrayal of the job of the FBI.
And that's the cultural change that needs to take place, right? It's not the American citizenry at large who is the threat to the Constitution and to the Republic,
Yeah.
but it's all the other things that the FBI historically has been known to do, which is, like you said, human trafficking networks, public corruption, white collar crime, those kinds of things that tear at the very foundations of our society.
So, George Hill, right now there is an FBI director, Christopher Wray. He's been in that role since 2017. Usually these FBI directors, traditionally, they serve 10-year terms. But the president just said, I'm making Kash Patel the new FBI director. Come January 20th, what should Chris Wray do? Should he just resign, knowing that he doesn't have the president's confidence?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the pugnacious type, except when he's on SAC conference calls, the weekly conference calls where he badmouths members of Congress. He can be quite pugnacious then, but I don't know if he really has that kind of chutzpah that he's going to wait and make the president fire him. He might, but I doubt it. He doesn't seem like that guy. I've only met him face to face once. He'll probably, if he's smart, he's probably packing up his office now.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens here. Kash Patel, though, is slated at this moment to be the next director of the FBI. Our guest George Hill thinks that's a great idea. So do I. George, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate you being on air with us.